Question to you now, similar to the one that we just had about duty, is do you believe that you should be of service and be a servant to ultimately I guess the world in a sense? That sounds quite ethereal and mystical, but
I know what you mean, and I think
yeah,
most listeners will know what you mean in the sense of it's sort of that Gandhian tone of like your service for people and service for the world in that sense. Is that what you're trying to sort of
like
go?
there's like you're a servant to something more powerful than you, basically, or something that controls
You're
you.
you're
And ult-
you're a you're a servant to something bigger than yourself, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Um. Wait. So what was your actual question? It was.
Do you believe that we have a certain service that we must undertake, or do you believe that, or similarly, are we a servant to something, or should we be a servant to something?
I don't think. I think it's quite. I don't think that we have a certain service to like a common good or a collective vision or goal. I think we should have a service to our conscience and ourselves. Hence, why I have this duty of openness and honesty to myself first and foremost, and then to other people. Because I think that's the best form of service is to yourself first, and then you go big from there. Like service starts small and then builds up. I think we should have a service to society in any shape or form. Everyone should have a little bit of a part to play within society and help it grow. But I don't think it's an absolute must that everyone has service to a collective goal. I think it is an absolute must to have it on an individual level. And indirectly, by as a result of having it on an individual level, I would hope that people realize the power of service and therefore use it on a collective level. Does that
Okay,
make sense?
yeah, that makes sense. And
What
I
do you
think
think?
I don't know. When you were talking about being of service to yourself, it reminded me of a speech delivered by none other than Matthew McConaughey.
Kind of
Um, you
that,
know who
that
I'm
guy.
talking about.
That guy,
The
yeah.
the American man from the South, not South America, but the South of the US, who says "all right, all right, all right" in a much cooler voice than that. But in his Oscar speech after winning Best Actor, I think for Dallas Buyers Club, he mentioned, and it's probably one of the most famous Oscar speeches of all time. He goes, when he was younger, someone asked him who he wants to be when he's older, and he says, "I want to be myself. I want to be myself in 5 years' time." Maybe it's not. Oh yeah, I want to be like myself in 5 years' time. And then when he gets to fight in 5 years' time, he gets asked again, who does he want to be? And he goes again, I want to be myself in 10 years' time. And then 10 years' time, he gets asked who he wants to be. And he's constantly striving to be a better person. And I mean, in many ways, one could argue that that is probably one of the greatest services.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Now
no,
I'm
no.
getting
No,
confused with the
no, it's
words,
right, it's
but
right, it's right. It's right. Yeah, you're right. It's the greatest, some of the greatest services that you could perform, either in its as like an actual like method sense, like you perform a service, or in the act of service. I think they both can be used in the same way. And to simplify it for everyone, it's basically like the most basic and actually pure form of service is self-development and self-care and self-appreciation, in my opinion, at least. Because if you learn how to master that art of service now, I truly, truly believe it will put you in a position where once you have that education, once you have that knowledge, you can then impact the world in a better way. And because of the service that you have done for yourself, you'll realize that you have got a lot of golden nuggets to give to people. You've got a lot of things to impart knowledge on. So you will endeavor to strive to actually impart that knowledge on people. So I think, yeah, I think service there should be, and I think inherently we do tend to serve ourselves. Whether this is in a positive or negative way, I think that's being debated, and it's been debated since Hobbes and Locke in terms of do we serve ourselves or do we
sure, it's been debated further back than that. But
probably,
yeah,
yeah, probably since the Greeks or even before that, really. Like,
yeah.
but I would like to think that, yeah, there is some form of inherent service within our psyche.
Very nice. And then one final point. So we've talked about duty, we've talked about service and being a
Mm,
servant. Um, my thoughts on that is that I think every single person is a servant, not in the sense that you're not a servant to a government or a servant to
a divine master.
you're not performing like you're not helping someone like as a servant. Rather, I think you're a servant to the world. And I know that may sound very, once again, ethereal and mystical, but I do believe that as humans, it's our duty on this planet to take care of it in the best way possible. I mean, I'm probably speaking quite hypocritically because I mean, how like I go in cars, but I feel as if people should try their best to do the least amount of harm to the planet as possible, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
it's our responsibility to leave the planet and try and leave the planet in a somewhat better position than we left it in.
Mm, mm,
And so yeah, and so I'd say that that would be my definition, or that's why I believe everyone should be a servant. And I guess in many ways, I think I see that as probably one of the duties every person should strive to do. But
I think, yeah, there is
once,
definitely a link. Like, you could, sorry to interrupt, but I think I just want to get this point. I think it might convey your meaning as well, which is we have a duty to be of service to people or to the world. I think I think that's really important.
yeah, and so yeah, but once again, I wouldn't say it's a duty. And I know it's a bit weird because the definition of being a servant is a person who performs duties. But as I mentioned before, I'm still a big fan of the individual idea that nothing can be it. There's no one shoe fits all, one
Fine,
size
fine.
fits all.
Okay, fine,
But
fine.
yeah, but
So
yeah,
we
that's what I
have
would say.
it would be nice to adopt a duty, let's say, or it'd be nice to adopt a responsibility that we should try and serve the world in any shape or form for a positive net outcome. I
Yes.
think that's quite a nice sentiment, and I actually think that that's needed now more than ever with the social climate that we live in. Just that genuine passion to serve others without the need for recognition, and just genuinely because you know that it will actually make a positive difference. I think that's needed now more than ever.
Yes.
And if anything, for all of you listening, by listening to us sort of converse about duties and service and what does it actually mean to have a duty, right? Like, what do we actually mean by that? And a responsibility. And how do we go about fulfilling that? Why should we fulfill that? I hope it makes you realize what your duties are or what services you hold to other people and how you can serve others in the best way possible. And it's careful to, we have to be careful in the way we say serve, obviously, because of the way servants and service has sort of been used over history. But in its purest form, service is a really beautiful thing.
I can't really add much to that. I think
Um,
you've summarized it perfectly.